kiddos, this is it. The Ragnarok of your high school English career is upon us. The final battle. After this, there will be nothing. So let's get into it. Bravely, like Norse heroes, we will go into the final battle. So at the end of part 8 of Crossing Brooklyn Ferry, Whitman says, "I'm done, my argument's over. I've convinced you that you are part of some larger spiritual construct, that you yourself are a piece of what he called God, that you are God yourself. I have proven to you that there is some higher spiritual thing, and I've done that by saying human beings are always going to be attracted to sunsets, to water, to love, to friendship, because we receive a reward that is from the universe. It's not something we created ourselves. We get it from the universe and we'll always be drawn towards that. And in this way, we're all part of some larger scheme. We're all bound together by individual ties." So part 9 is going to be a series of what the comedians call callbacks, or references to images or objects he talked about in the poem before. So line 9 starts, and there are a lot of exclamation marks here, with "Flow on, river, flow with the flood tide, and ebb with the ebb tide. Frolic on, crested and scalloped edged waves. Gorgeous clouds of the sunset, drench me with your splendor, or the men and women generations after me." Side note right here. Please go visit Brooklyn. It's called Brooklyn Bridge Park now, but the piers in Brooklyn that look over the East River, they're built up. They've done a lot of cool landscaping down there. It's worth a day trip to go down there. Had we still had school and not been on quarantine, we would have gone on a field trip to there after we read this poem, but things ended up how they can, so now we can only go in our imaginations. Or maybe I'll run into you there someday, where crowds will cross from shore to shore, countless crowds of passengers. Stand up, tall masts of Manhattan. Stand up, beautiful hills of Brooklyn. What's neat in line 105, and I didn't ask you this in your study guide, is he uses the Native American word, Manhattan, for Manhattan. It's a Native American word, but saying like, even these places that we're at, no matter what we do to them or how much they change, humans have always been interacting with these. Fun fact too, you know how Broadway is the only street that goes at a weird angle and seems to cut through the grid? It's I believe it was Iroquois who lived here before Europeans wiped them out. It was the Iroquois footpath that went up and down Manhattan, and that's Broadway now. So when you're walking up and down Broadway, you're walking in the original Native American road that went up and down Manhattan. Okay, so back to 105. Stand up, tall masts of Manhattan. Stand up, beautiful hills of Brooklyn. Throb, baffled and curious brain. Throw out questions and answers. Suspend here and everywhere. Eternal float of solution. So that provides a little bit more context to what he meant by that. I was struck from the float of solution. So solution is something, a liquid. So we are all little organisms floating around in a solution. Though we can't see it, we can't feel it, there are some spiritual ties that bind us all together. Gaze loving and thirsty eyes in the house or street or public assembly. Sound out, voices of young men. Loudly and musically call me by my nice name. Live old life. Play the part that looks back on the actor or actress. Play the old role, the role that is great or small according to what as one makes it. Consider you who peruse me, whether I may not in unknown ways be looking upon you. Slept on my neck weird last night, so every time I'm looking right, I have to go like this. Let's see here. Be firm, rail over the river, to support those who lean idly, yet haste with hasting current. Okay, so again, you have like something of the river taking away the person who contemplates it, taking it away with them. So you have a lot of it mirrors Neruda, who we studied, who came after Whitman, but you're going to see an overlap of the ideas that the objects that we humans interact with, we leave part of ourselves on these objects, and they travel on with parts of us after we die in this world. So, be firm, rail over the river, to support those who lean idly, yet haste with the hasting current. Fly on, seabirds, fly sideways or wheel in large circles high in the air. Receive the summer sky, you water, and faithfully hold it, till all downcast eyes have time to take it from you. I'm going to come back to this line at the end, because he kind of refers to the same idea. And this image comes from part 3, I believe it is, where the river, or New York Harbor, is reflecting the sky and the sunset, so you have the heavens or the sky being reflected on the earth. It plays with this idea as part 9 ends. I'll read that line again. Where is it? Receive the summer sky, you water, and faithfully hold it, till all downcast eyes have time to take it from you. Diverge fine spokes of light from the shape of my head or anyone's head in the sunlit water. Again, you have those religious or spiritual divine connotations with humans, so everybody who does this, like, interacts with the water, has this, like, aura of holiness around them. Come on, ships from the lower bay, pass up or down, white-sailed schooners. Sloops, lighters, flaunt away flags of all nations, be duly lowered at sunset. Because when the sun sets, we all go to the same place and we all look the same. The metaphorical sun, that is the Ragnarok. Burn high your fires, foundry chimneys, cast black shadows at nightfall, cast red and yellow light over the tops of the houses. They don't do that anymore. But it would be pretty neat if there were still chimneys all throughout Manhattan and they lit up the sky and you could see them light up buildings. And I think we'd still be attracted to that, but we don't have that anymore. Man, I wonder what Whitman would think of Times Square. It's pretty amazing. I bet he would like it. Line 120. Appearances now or henceforth indicate what you are. Alright, this ties in with line 115, but he's saying appearances, physical things, indicate what you are. So there's 2 different states of being. There's what you are in essence or in spirit, and then the physical representation of that. So, just like he said at the end of part 8, there's a subtle force that ties us together when we speak face to face. Our bodies are just representations of some spiritual essence that we have. So when we speak, that subtle thing that ties us together is we find the connection between those spiritual essences. You have the same thing, like appearances of everything around us represent what you are. You are not the physical makeup, you represent something. Or he says, indicate what you are. You necessary film continue to envelop the soul. About my body for me and your body for you be hung our divinest aromas. Thrive, cities, bring your freight, bring your shows, ample and sufficient rivers. Expand, which refers to the cities. Expand, being than which none else is perhaps more spiritual. Keep your places objects, than which none else is more lasting. So you have this inversion, which I referred to in the last video, or he refers to in the last section, that rivers are something spiritually significant, which is kind of an inversion of the romantic idea that nature should be your teacher, and then cities or society leads you away from it. Whitman says cities are a natural extension of nature. So, like Neruda says, you can see the flawed confusion of human beings and their objects. Yes, we do have ugly parts of us. We're figuring out how to build societies, and as we build better places or a better society, our cities will reflect that. But he says objects in cities and in nature, they indicate essences of this hidden world that we can't see with the 5 senses, this impalpable world. And then in line 126, I love this line. He says, you have waited, you always wait, you dumb, beautiful ministers. Okay, so dumb in its original context meant without speech or silent. There was a commercial to help adopted dogs when I was little, and it referred to our dumb friends, and I was always like, why are they calling dogs dumb friends? It means friends without language. So he says you, and he's referring to the objects or cities or things in nature that last longer than human beings. You have waited, you always wait, you dumb, beautiful ministers. Again, you get this religious connotation to these objects or these things that last longer than human beings that preach to us. So when we receive the joy that we get from them, or the feelings we get from the sunset or the river or the cities or beautiful objects, because we're continually drawn to the same types of things, it shows that we receive the same types of rewards. So, by picture like in Ode on a Grecian Urn, if you remember that, an ancient urn that people are continually attracted to. We're attracted to it because we receive the same sort of joy from it continually over and over, which indicates or preaches that there is some larger something that gives us essence, or that gives us our bodies, or gives us our identity. It's not made from our bodies perceive it. We receive you, objects, or ministers, with free sense at last, enter and satiate henceforth. Not you any more shall be able to foil us, or withhold yourselves from us. We use you and do not cast you aside. We plant you permanently within us. Okay, so he's reflecting on his own thoughts about objects, or the things that last longer than human beings. Once you notice that there is this beauty that is transcendent or universal in these things, then you notice it more and more. And he says, we plant you permanently within us, or we will continue to be more and more attracted to you and find more and more happiness. Line 130, we fathom you not, we love you. There is perfection in you also. You furnish your parts towards eternity. Great or small, you furnish your parts toward the soul. Okay, so at the end here he says objects, or these things in nature, furnish their parts or their physical essences towards the soul, which comes back to those ideas in line 115 and 120. Line 120 has appearances down henceforth indicate what you are. So the physical world represents something spiritually. You have that that reference, or this, mirroring of that Platonic ideal that you had in Ode on a Grecian Urn, where physical objects or art is a representation of ideas. Whitman saying everything that exists in the physical world is a representation of some spiritual essence. And you get that cool image of that in line 115, where the water is a reflection of the heavens, so we have something higher than us that the water reflects towards us. So you have objects indicating an essence or a spiritual truth to us. Okay, so a quick note about the setting of the poem. Whitman does something neat here by setting it at the edge of the East River on New York Harbor, where you have a confluence of the Hudson River and East River and Long Island Sound and the Atlantic Ocean and all the rivers coming in from New Jersey. If a person is standing by a river like 30 miles up the Hudson River and they look at it, they'd be like, yes, this is a river, this is the Hudson River, this thing is the Hudson River. But if you follow it long enough, you'll find out that the river is connected to a whole bunch of other bodies of water which go from all over the world, and then the source of the river comes from rain and from springs, which come from snow and rain itself. So they're part of this big, long, interconnected cycle, which stands as a metaphor for what he's saying here is, just like if you look at a river and you say this river is a river, it's not connected to anything. If you look at a human being, it's easy to say that human being is its own individual thing, it's not connected to anything. But in fact, it's part of some larger whole. I just think that's really clever how he does that with settings. Alright, the Ragnarok is upon us. We have come to an end. Even though this universe of our classroom has ended, maybe Whitman was right, and we're all connected in some ways. And as we move out into the world of your whole chaotic lifestyles, and you never hear my voice again, and I never hear your voice again, or see you again, perhaps we're all connected in some way. I'll leave you with that one. I don't know how to trim these videos, and I don't want to look into it, so I'm going to have to get up and hit the little stop button.